Guys, welcome to She Knows Our Jessica on Twitter at Justino Tweets and at She Knows Arsenal. Welcome to another match preview for Arsenal versus Leicester. So, second game of the season, still gearing up, still not quite a complete squad, but I titled this like obviously after Arsenal versus Leicester, that squad is at full strength, or Arsenal are almost at full strength. And from the training videos today, we kind of saw that like Vieira's there, Tomiyasu's there, Tierney's there. Arteta kind of confirmed that Tierney is in like tip top shape, which is good. So I think and he also said that, those players might get a chance to be involved against Leicester. And I do think that, ahead of the Crystal Palace match, you looked at the starting lineup and you saw a really strong starting lineup. You saw like as strong as we felt like we could be. And then looking at the bench, it became like a reality again, like, okay, so we still have work to do. We still don't have our full squad. So knowing that Tomiyasu, Tierney, and Vieira are in full training and potentially available for this game, um, I do think gives us a little bit of a boost just in case. I know so many of us are excited to see Fabio Vieira and to see what kind of player we actually bought. I remember being on the show and thinking like, yo, we're actually about to buy somebody. And it was like the best feeling to be not linked with somebody like at all, and the signing just be done like that. And we spent, 30 million on him, which is a lot. So we kind of have to feel like he's a good player. You guys just work with me on the internet. If it's cutting in and out, please let me know. But it's just where this is set up right here. It's a little bit further away from the modem. So probably by the next time you see me, I'll probably move one more time just so I can try to get the clearest for you guys and get a little bit closer to the modem, but just kind of work with me here. So yeah, like I think we're all excited to see what Fabio Vieira can do, what kind of player he is, especially because he plays in midfield. And if you got a chance to watch like the most recent Tifo video, as well as some of the other breakdowns that have been going around Arsenal Twitter, you'll see that he can play so many different positions. And so we'll definitely have to see what he can do. But I'm not sure if he'll play in this game. Like, I'm not sure if it's too fast of a turnaround for him off of the back of that foot injury. But we're gonna go ahead and get into this match preview, and we're gonna start off like kind of how we always do with the press conference. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Share my screen. Share it. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's hop in here. Okay, so ahead of this weekend's opening home game of the season against Leicester City, Mikel Arteta has been speaking about the build-up to the match, transfers, injury news, and his weekly press conference. He talked about, so this is the Tomiyasu, Smith Rowe, and Vieira. They've all been reintegrated into training this week, all of them. They are in different phases, but some of them will be in the squad tomorrow. Don't be surprised if it's not Vieira, you guys. I do think that when you look at the group of players that have been out, I think you can say like Tierney for sure, because he was in the squad against Crystal Palace. Then you look at Tomiyasu, ESR, and Vieira. I have a feeling that it's going to be Tomiyasu as well, and Vieira and ESR will still be out. I'm not sure what's going on with ESR, but he just kind of seems like he always has a little thing here and there. And Vieira, like he's just getting into full training. So don't be surprised if he's not in there, but I'm shooting for the next home game for Vieira to come back. I think that's the next game that I'm thinking that he'll be able to make an appearance at. But yeah, he said on Tierney is nearly full fitness levels. He played 15 or 20 minutes last weekend and he did really well. I agree with that. I do think you kind of saw the quality of Tierney and what he still brings to the side regardless of his injury issues. I do feel like a lot of the analysis around Tierney has been conflated with his injury record. And I do understand that some Arsenal fans feel as though we need to move on from him or try to cash in on him now. But I'm just not quite ready to let go of Kieran Tierney. I still think that I'd prefer to see him in a strong squad with decent squad rotation before I just throw him in the bin. But Arteta kind of echoed, good. He's been out for a long time after the knee injury, but he looks in perfect condition now and ready to go. I'm not going to lie, like, the most annoying thing during preseason was our first game against Nuremberg, and he played like those 25 minutes, and he just had gotten back. That was like his first match, back. And because he didn't do well, people were just ready to kick him. And he has to get back up to full fitness. And we did see that when he's fit, he is one of the best left backs in the league. I think he's top 3 best left backs in the league when he's fit. Of course, like when you have that asterisk next to it, people will always like bring that back up. Like, well, he's never really fully fit. So how can you say that? But I have so much confidence in Tierney that, like, if he has good rotation, he'll be really valuable to us. And so, yeah, I'm happy that he's 100% fit, ready to go. He talked about Reece Nelson's injury. Some people something in his hand, and the doctor came with some bad muscular injury, and hopefully he will be back soon. There's no time scale, but it seems like something that's going to keep him out for a while. So that could also hinder a move for him as well. On what he makes of Leicester this season in comparison to last season, he said he thinks it's difficult to compare. They've had some good games. I watched the game against Sevilla, and they've been together for a long time. It's a really strong squad with a manager and a coaching staff that have been doing a fantastic job and have huge experience in the league. It's always difficult against them. I do think that this is going to be a difficult game. Leicester went through a really difficult period last season of constant injuries. They were injured all the time. Like, Vardy was injured, and Didi was always injured. Maddison had some bad injuries as well. They had Fofana with the leg break. They had Johnny Evans out for a significant amount of time. Their fullbacks have been really challenged in terms of injuries too. So although I do view Leicester as a wounded, team that has had a very difficult offseason as well, not being able to really improve their squad, I still think when you look at their team and you see, Vardy and you see Maddison, you see Tielemans, you see these types of players, Drewsbury Hall, who for me has looked really good for them. You still see a squad that has some danger in it. And so I do think it's going to be a difficult game, like in terms of like, it's not like playing the bottom 3. They can hurt you, but what they have in attack, like you could almost just like take that all away because of what the deficiencies that they have in defense. So we'll talk about that more when we get up into like matchups and things like that. But yeah, Leicester, I don't think it's going to be like just a walk in the park, because they can hurt you. Let's see. I know they're going to have like during this weekend, they're going to have water breaks, which a lot of people had kind of said like is a real advantage for Mikel Arteta because like he was so good during the water breaks time. So that's something that, it's going to be really hot. So the subs will probably help as well. He talked about the 5 subs. He said, I think they will be really important. It's really helpful and it gives the squad and individuals more chances and hope to participate in matches. It's educating players as well that not playing 90 minutes is not an issue, especially when you have so many games in a season. He spoke about on if he's happy with the culture at the club. He said, I'm really happy with where we are, with the people we have at the club, with the professionals we have at the club and what we are building. I could not be happier with that. Talking about me, he kind of did away the Manchester City links for Kieran Tierney. And the one thing that I will say is that, like, when you have your players like constantly linked with moves to big or clubs that are doing really well, like top clubs that are playing in Champions League, your players are good. And Kieran Tierney has been linked with Manchester City and Real Madrid over the last 3 years. And I still see Arsenal fans saying that he's not that good. He's just a push it past you merchant. He's not very this and that. Kieran Tierney is a very good player that we got for 25 million. He has his injury issues, but it cannot be conflated with his quality. Kieran Tierney is a top left back, so I just have to put that back out there. He talked about his influence on team. And I think those moments are very personal and happen in the moment. It's how you're feeling, how you sense the atmosphere in the dressing room to be what the players need at the moment, what the occasion is. It has to come naturally from yourself. Obviously, you always have people who inspire you in your life, that educate you, and that helps. So, like, I did see that there was some criticism about Martin Odegaard in the All or Nothing documentary, that he wasn't loud enough, and the most vocal members of the group were Aaron Ramsdale, Granit Xhaka, and even bukayo Saka spoke quite a bit. But sometimes you lead by example. It's not always about leading with what you say. I have to say that I'm not impressed by Granit Xhaka as a leader because he yells a lot. I personally, if I had to choose between the yelly, shouty guy or the guy that leads by example, I would choose leads by example. I don't think you have to be yelly or shouty to be a leader. And I think that's why you have a leadership group. Martin Odegaard clearly has the captain's armband for a certain reason. And I think that's because he's the coach on the pitch, and he's a professional and leads by example. And so Granit is also somewhat of a captain. Ramsdale does his bit, and we don't need to be worried about Martin Odegaard being the captain because he's not yelling and shouting. You don't have to do that to be a leader. All you have to make sure is that you're leading in a way where you can inspire and influence the players around you to do the things that the manager has asked them to do. And that is what Martin Odegaard, from what Arteta has kind of said, that's what he kind of does. So I'm not particularly worried about that at all. He said on keeping William Saliba's feet on the ground. I think he has his feet on the ground. I don't think it will be an issue. Obviously, we have talked about all these very weird things that are happening around him, and we have tried to manage that internally in a really quiet way. I think it's better to stay like this for him because he's 21 years of age and has played one Premier League match. And one of the things that kind of came out in the All or Nothing documentary was a conversation between Arteta and a coach. I don't know who it was, but he talked about how England will build you up and then like push you right down to the ground. And I do think Arteta has been trying to protect William Saliba because he's such a big talent. And as a defender, you're defined by the amount of times that somebody scores against you, or the amount of times that you're beaten on the dribble, the amount of times that you give up penalties and things like that. And those things really stick in the minds of fans. It can define who you are while you're at a club. And we should know that more than anybody. William Gallas, David Luiz, Skodran Mustafi, like all these players, like they've had these moments, these mares, these moments that are so small, but like it defines you as a defender, right? You could be doing everything right, lose one duel, and you are shit. So I do think that it's important as fans, for us to remember how young William Saliba is and not try to elevate him to the level of players that are 8, 9, 10 years older than him. And remember, he's a young player that's learning his trade, and he's going to make mistakes. And when he does, we need to be behind him and not like push him down, because the media, rivals, all of that, they're going to get on top of him the moment he makes one mistake. So I do think he's saying all the right things and letting him go out on loan and kind of like develop without the light shining on him. Obviously, he still gained attention because he is William Saliba. He is a top talent. But now coming to the Premier League, he's a little bit more experienced. He's, a little bit more maybe mature, and so he can handle it a little bit more. But yeah, like Saliba has so many eyes on him, and Arsenal fans have propped him up to such a level that I do fear like the very first time he makes a mistake. I mean, he was on international duty for France, and there were debates about William Saliba as a defender based on an international friendly. So we just have to remember that when he puts on the red kit for Arsenal, that he's going to be heavily scrutinized. So keeping that in mind. He says on how he comes across in the dressing room, players really like him because he's become a really determined, focused, and humble boy that really wants to take the club forward. He is so willing to talk through anything that you want to talk to him about, and his aim is to get better and make the team better. And so, yeah, like, I mean, that's really a good thing to hear that he has a personality in there and that people really like him. I know him and Gabriel are friends. Like, they were initially friends when Saliba first came back in, and they speak French and all that kind of stuff. So that's a good, connection that he has with somebody else that's going to be playing with him in that back line. He said, the first team players were really positive. Well, this is on how much Saliba has changed since he first came back from France. The first team players were really positive. His body language, presence, and confidence he was acting with were very mature. So there might have been a level of like him needing to go out and mature a little bit. There were kind of rumors out there, and you guys don't like, I wasn't there, but like obviously like there were rumors that there was an attitude issue with William Saliba, that like there was a body language and a training issue with William Saliba, and that's why he was sent on loan. So to hear that he's kind of washed those things away and came back a lot more mature, I really like to hear that. And then he kind of, they asked him about the long-term deal for Saliba, and Arteta said, we will address all these issues like we always do. That's why the board and Adu will be preparing all those scenarios that we can possibly face. We want players to be happy here and feel valued, but we've just started the season. So again, like I do think there are a lot of, Arsenal influencers, content creators, potentially Twitter accounts, big Arsenal Twitter accounts that have kind of put their neck on the line saying that they know William Saliba has signed a new deal. What Arteta said there does not make me think that anything has been resolved as of yet. He said, that's why the board and Adu will prepare all the scenarios that we can possibly face. All the scenarios to me means if he does sign, if he doesn't sign, if he doesn't want to stay, there's, and that might be why we see links to right-sided center backs, is because if William Saliba decides to leave at the end of the transfer window, or they get a big bid for him, or he decides not to resign, we have somebody waiting in the wings. He also said we want players to be happy here and feel valued, but we've just started the season. And I think that also kind of just speaks to, if you read between the lines, that he wants the players to feel happy and valued, but we just started the season and things can change. And so things that can change is Tomiyasu is fit and Arteta wants to bring Ben White back into center back. Will William Saliba still be happy if he's not starting every single game? If that's the scenario, what happens from there? So again, like I'm very cautious about the whole William Saliba situation because it doesn't feel like it's resolved at the moment. I'm sure that they've had talks, and his agent has also kind of said that things have been kind of positive, but I do feel like Saliba wants to wait and to make sure that he's going to get the playing time that he requires to solidify his spot in the French national team before he does anything. So yeah, that's kind of like, my point on that. Let's see what you guys are saying. I know I talked for a while. I don't even know why I have these in. I can't hear nothing out of them. You know what I'm saying? There's 180 of you guys in here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Don One said he will get stronger. I think you guys are talking about Vieira. Let's see what you guys are saying. Nick Nack says Saliba played every single game for Marseille last season. No surprise that he's matured as a player. Let's see. Bernardo's you guys. Tony says Saliba has an easy job, essentially the middle of a back three. He's going to look great as he settles in and will continue to improve. A Cadillac of a defender. Yeah, like I think he's doing a really good job. I just feel like let's just relax, a little bit on the idea that everything is hunky dory. That's not really what I'm hearing from Arteta. I'm hearing nothing is done, and we're considering all situations here. All scenarios means all scenarios, you know what I mean? So he also talked about, I think, one of the most important things for this season, which is having plenty of options in multiple positions. And Arteta said you give a different threat and create different problems as well for your opponents, because doing the same things with very little qualities or very different qualities creates different scenarios and gives us great flexibility with the same players to play in different ways. And so that's kind of like the quintessential example of that is Zinchenko versus Kieran Tierney. Both very quality players that have very different characteristics on and off the ball and can offer you different looks and give the opposition different things to have to think about. When you play with Zinchenko first, you know that Arsenal are going to try to possess. When you play with Tierney first, you may be thinking that Arsenal want to do something a little bit different or defend a little bit more on that side. So I like that. I like having different types of players that play in the same position versus a double of every single player in every position. And I think you'll also see that with Odegaard versus Vieira. They may play the same position and do some of the same things, but Vieira is so different than Odegaard. He's so different. So I think having those different looks is going to be really important for Arsenal. You also have the opportunity to use Zinchenko as an 8/10, and he's quite different than Odegaard and Vieira. So, and even if you want to throw Smith Rowe in there, he's different to the three of them, so you do have that flexibility. I just think we have to build out that flexibility and make sure get the most out of it, because if the players can't execute what they're trying to do, we don't really get the benefit of it. And like an example of that would be like when we try to play Smith Rowe in the 8 position, we don't really get much out of it because he's not quite ready. But maybe if you were to throw Zinchenko in there, you would get something substantial there. I like this question that was asked. I think it was asked by Art Darash. And, he was kind of asking about like instruction with players and stuff like that. When Arteta first came in, he was definitely like pass here, pass there, pass here, pass there. And a lot of people, I don't think really like that. I'm pretty sure the players didn't like it. But he said that's the idea, giving less instruction. The dream that they can decide by themselves and make decisions themselves. And those decisions are right in execution, timing, and in purpose. And that is the direction that we obviously want to take. I think Arteta is very intense on the sideline, but he's definitely not orchestrating every single pass like he was at the beginning, when I think he really didn't trust the players. And then on Fabio Vieira, he said that's on what position does he play? He said that's something that the player is going to tell us. We are already trying him in different positions in training, and he's played on the left, right, as false 9 and attacking midfielder, so it's good. He doesn't want to be locked into any one position because he's so used to it, and that's a real positive thing for us. And they also talked about like how he's going to adapt. Arteta said that's very difficult to respond to right now. It might take him time to get there depending on who he's playing and how the game goes. It could take him no time to adapt. What I can tell you is that he's doing everything he can to make the process really short. So again, like I don't imagine that we'll see Fabio Vieira tomorrow in terms of like, I don't see him starting. I actually don't even know if he'll be involved at all just this soon. Maybe he will. But I don't imagine we'll see him play unless we're like up 3 or 4-0. You know what I mean? Like it has to be like a lot more decisive. So yeah. Matt S says, please give Vieira time. People already crown him out technical leader after some YouTube clips. Nick Nack says, I'm looking forward to seeing Fabio Vieira in action this season as much as any new signing in the league. Exactly. Like I'm excited about seeing him as well. Alfred says, is Vieira playing tomorrow? Nobody knows. I mean, Arteta said some of the players that have come back into, training, full training will be involved, but that could be Tomiyasu and Tierney. Tierney's already added in that, but it may be ESR. You don't know. I would love to see Vieira on the bench and then us to really like smack Leicester. What I'm really hoping for more than anything is a classic Youri Tielemans disaster class where he literally passes the ball to us, like Steven Gerrard did to Thierry Henry, and we just go and score. Like something very much like that, like the disaster class that he put out there against Spurs. I want to see something very similar. If you want to come to Arsenal, you bomb the game, you bomb it. So if he helps us out, maybe we'll be up 3 or 4 nil, and then we could go ahead and sub some people on. But I don't imagine he'll start. Let's see. Tracksmith says, how will you feel if Abba signs for Chelsea? I mean, initially it just was kind of annoying because like I just don't want every single time that he scores for it to be about Arsenal. Players, like when players leave the team, it's just more it's better when they aren't in the same league so that you don't have to hear about them, you know? But in terms of like, do I really care? Not really. Like Aubameyang is a thing of the past for Arsenal and for me. We're moving forward. We have new players now. We're doing our own thing. And so I know there's going to be some Arsenal fans that make everything about Aubameyang. Every single time he touches the ball, every time they win a game, every time he scores a goal, every time he farts, it's going to be about, oh, Arteta couldn't get the most out of him. Look what he's doing. Like whatever, you know. But Aubameyang is still a very good player. The problem is he wasn't happy at Arsenal. And if he's not happy, he's basically like a non-factor. So there was no making him happy, without compromising Arteta's non-negotiables, right? So for me, it's just like, it is what it is. Like, I really couldn't care less. Like, if he goes there, good for him. But as far as I'm concerned, he's a Barcelona player going to Chelsea, and that's about it. Let's see. Terrence Tibbs says, should Arteta utilize the subs more often and earlier? I think so. I think that the subs against Crystal Palace came too late. The players were clearly tired and we had started really losing control over the game. And as soon as we brought in like Tierney and Nketiah, we gained control of the game again. And people have to remember that like our players that played in preseason, most of them never played a full 90. They played like 30, 60 kind of minutes. Like a lot of them didn't play like full halves or, so they're still building up their fitness. So yes, when they all played together, those 30 minutes or so that they all played together, they looked really good. Like we did in the very beginning against Crystal Palace. But as the game wore on, they got really tired. And so it's going to be really hot out there and they're going to have water breaks. We need to use everything that we have in order to keep the pressure up on Leicester. So yeah, I'd like to see him use the subs more often and quicker. And I think he trusts Tomiyasu and Tierney and Emile Smith-Rowe to a certain extent, where in Nketiah that he will use them a lot quicker, hopefully. But that's something that Arsenal fans, I think, are really keyed in on this season is how does he utilize his squad? And can he make sure that there's no drop off and we keep up pressure? And ultimately, can we utilize the squad well enough where we can stay very competitive in every single competition? That's really the job for Arteta this season. Let's see. There's 222 of you guys in here. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. So Terrence Tibbs also asked, does Arteta overplay the same players and how will he rotate now that we are in Europe? Well, I don't know how he'll rotate once we get into Europe, but he spoke to the fact that our players had gotten injured a lot more because we had kind of overused them. There was no good rotational like patterns or anything like that last season. We just played the same 13 players all the time and we ran them into the ground. And I think the biggest, like the players that hurt the most off of the back of that were Thomas Partey, Bukayo Saka, and Kieran Tierney. And so we've kind of solved the Tierney situation. I think Thomas Partey is still like a single point of failure. We don't have any sort of solution that can give us anything similar to what he does on the pitch. And Bukayo Saka, we still haven't solved that because you still have Pepe and Marquinhos. Neither of them are good enough at the moment, so we have to see, I think he trusts the players now. Instead of having like a 13 player squad that he feels comfortable with, I think now he has closer to like a 15, 16 man squad that he feels comfortable with. So I do think that you'll see him playing those players up to a point. Like you'll see Vieira and ESR and Tomiyasu and Tierney / Zinchenko playing a lot more minutes than El Neni and Sambi and Ainsley Maitland-Niles and those guys played. you know. So when we get to the extremities of the squad, we'll be able to do some things. But we just have to see how he does it. When we were in multiple competitions the year prior, especially when we were in Europe and we went a little bit further in those competitions, he did kind of have like a Europa League squad and a Premier League squad. And I remember like Gabriel played in Europe and Pablo Marie played in the Premier League. So you may see something like that, you know, where in the Europa League, we play White as the center back and Tomiyasu on the right. And in the Premier League, we play Saliba in the middle and White as right back. You know, I'm just spitballing here, but based on his patterns before, you know, when we were in Europe, I would imagine we'd see something similar, but maybe a little bit more rotation because he's hopefully learned his lesson. So yeah, I'm really Georgie says, breaking news, Leicester have signed a player. Who have you signed then? Have you guys signed somebody finally? Let me know if you guys actually have, or you just try to make me look. Yeah, so I think that, well, that's what we're looking for Arteta, is to really kind of show that he can use the squad a lot better. So there's 215 of you guys in here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. So let's I'll share my screen and then we can go ahead and build our lineup, which will be a little bit more interesting than last week because like we have multiple players that we could probably choose from. So let me just share my screen. Quick. Share screen. Okay, let me know if you guys can see that. Pretty good. All right. So beyond all these like ads that they have on here that are so annoying, let's get down to the business. So it was, yeah, I think this is the formation, obviously, that we'll be playing, so we don't have to move anything around. Let's do the obvious ones. Ramsdale will start in goal. His distribution was pretty good against Crystal Palace, except for that one bobble that he kind of had. He had like one or two little bobbles. I just want a game to go by where he doesn't get one of his passes blocked and they almost go into the goal. Like, please, for the love of God, will you just kick it one time, please? Because when Ramsdale does that, I do sense a shift in our we get a little bit like shaky right after that. So like our shakiness kind of starts off when somebody does something stupid and we almost give up a goal. And a lot of times it's either Gabriel or Ramsdale. You can let me know if I'm simplifying that a little bit too much, but that's kind of what I see. And so against Leicester, who I don't really particularly view them as a real pressing threat, you know, they don't tend to press very well. But, you know, we just don't want Jamie Vardy running in on Ramsdale and sticking his leg out and then the ball going in the back of the net, right? So I would like to just see a cleaner game from Ramsdale, but ultimately I did see more of the Ramsdale that I know and love in the last game. We're going to go ahead and put Gabriel in here. Oops, that's not how you spell it. Since we like own all the Gabriels in the world. And then we'll go into midfield. I'm sure this will be him. Okay. Let me know if you guys don't think these are like 100% certain. Like if you think that there's something different happening, let me know. Because this is kind of what I think we're going to see. All right. So this is the deal. Ramsdale starts in goal. Gabriel is going to be our left-sided center back. The midfield is going to stay unchanged, and the front line is going to stay unchanged. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Emile Smith-Rowe, whether he's dropped into midfield or if he is still played on the left wide. So with Tierney being 100% fit and ready to go, do you guys think there's an opportunity for Tierney to play left back and Zinchenko maybe moves into midfield or does something different? I think against Leicester, we're not necessarily playing a very physical team, not a very pressing team, but what we are playing is a counterattacking side, and we will possess mostly at home. So is this an opportunity to maybe see Zinchenko in midfield and Tierney at left back? I know that's definitely something that I want to see. We've seen what Granit Xhaka can do. It'd be nice to see what somebody else can do in that left 8 position. But I have this weird feeling that Tierney might start. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but maybe Tierney starts and then maybe Zinchenko comes in a little bit later on in the game with 20 minutes to go, just to kind of keep possession and keep us going if we're winning. I want to know what you guys have to say about that. Saliba probably does keep his spot, so we can kind of put him in there. I think there's a certain section of the fan base that would have an absolute meltdown if this boy did not start, unless he was like injured. Even if he was injured, they'd probably be like, "Well, just strap him up, make sure he started. I don't want him to leave," So let's just assume that he starts as well. And then right back, does Tomiyasu get some minutes? I feel like Ben White does start, but Tomiyasu will get maybe 20 or so minutes to kind of get himself all the way together. And White is also kind of strapped up, like with his knee. He might need some rest as well. So this is kind of what I think is going to happen, but I need to know what you guys are thinking. Do you see anything changing? Nick Neck says, no need to throw Tierney back in at this stage. Best to ease him back in to match fitness gradually. Okay. Solomon says, no Tierney, please. He keeps crossing the ball to no one in the box. That's not how I see Tierney playing, but fair enough. Don One says, I would start Zinchenko, give Tierney more time to get fit. Alex says, Tommy will start. Anton Dunn says, Tierney won't start due to Arteta's understanding of his fragility. Pizzanat.org says, if we're winning away, Xhaka will leave for Tierney. Tierney will go left back and Zin will go CDM right mid. I think you mean left mid, maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you do mean right mid. Crispy Rice says they might sub Tierney for Xhaka and move Zinchenko into midfield depending on the circumstances. Yeah, so there might be a situation where we need to possess more in midfield or something like that. That's where I see Zinchenko maybe being a really good option for us in midfield, is when, we want to make sure that we ensure that we keep our lead, and maybe Leicester are trying really hard to like get back into the game. Maybe we're up 2-0 or something. You bring Zinchenko in, or you move Zinchenko into midfield, you bring Tierney in and take Xhaka out, and Zinchenko would just kind of knock the ball around. As much as some people like consider Xhaka like this possession merchant, he's really not that, so maybe Zinchenko will give you that. So most people think that Zinchenko will start. Coach Dave says bring KT on in the 60th minute and move Ziggy into the midfield for Granit Xhaka. And also, I think is dependent on, if Zinchenko starts, then maybe he'll just do a straight swap, because Zinchenko is not, I don't think, fully fit yet, so maybe not 90 minutes fit. So we'll have to see. Blaze says, Jess, the back four line will be the same against Palace. Nick Neck says no need. Yeah, so most people are saying just leave it the way it was. The Onyx Lens says Zinni starts. Terrence says, I start Zinchenko and then take off Partey and bring on Tierney. Why would you take off Partey? That's interesting. And you'd start Zinchenko and take off Partey and bring on Tierney and play Zinchenko, Xhaka, and Odegaard? That's a scary midfield for me. I don't know about that. Alex Dunlop says Zinchenko starts, Tierney bench. So most people want to see the same thing. So yeah, for me, it's like, with the way that we're probably going to end up playing against Leicester, we're going to have quite a bit of possession, so if you're going to have possession, you might want to have Zinchenko out there. And yeah, so we'll put him in there. Let's see. Let's put Zinchenko in there. He'll do well like at home. Okay, so this is weird because they have him listed as some like weird name. Tizian. I don't know who that is. So everybody's pretty much saying that it's going to be the same. And maybe we see Tierney and Tomiyasu come in with like 20 or so minutes to go. I would love to see Zinchenko in midfield. Like, rip off the Band-Aid, Mikel. At some point, you're going to have to move away from Granit or not rely upon him so much, the team will not. I would love to see a strong team without Granit. So Thomas Partey and Zinchenko and Odegaard or something like that. Just to see something different, because it's like he has us in a chokehold and nothing happens if he's not in the game. And I think there are things that we can do without him that will still be successful. So nothing will probably change in midfield to start. But up top, like Emile Smith-Rowe has a really difficult job on his hands, I think, to get back into this team, because now you have Zinchenko, Vieira, and Odegaard that can all play the 10 role. And then you have Martinelli, who's playing out of his skin on the left-hand side. So, and if we get another attacker, which I think we will, then ESR, we're trying to figure out where we're going to play him, which is not a bad thing for him to have to work himself back into the team. But when people keep asking, well, where does he fit in? I don't know at the moment. Like at the moment, I just think he needs to get fit, and then he needs to define his position this season. This season, I think he needs to define whether or not he's going to be an 8/10 or he's going to be a left forward. And right now he's also a pretty good finisher. Martinelli does well starting games, and Emile Smith-Rowe does better finishing games. So maybe that's his role this season, but I don't see any shakeups up top per se. And then you have Eddie Nketiah that can come on. That's, I think, has been doing a really good job as of late. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. It'll be the same-ish lineup, but you will see a little bit more rotation towards the end of the half or end of the game, or depending on the circumstances, because we have more players that can play. T-Bone, thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate it. It says White for left center back when Tomiyasu is back. Absolutely not, sir. Or ma'am. I don't know if you're who you are, but Gabriel is our left-sided center back, and he has left foot. So ideally, I think in Arteta's system, Gabriel starts no matter what. And I do think that there's a reason why we were looking at Lisandro Martinez and why we've been kind of linked to left-footed center backs, is because we know we need backup for Gabriel. But at the same time, like, I just don't see. I know we want to get all of our favorites in, but somebody's going to have to hold bench, because Gabriel is the only left-footed center back that we got. And if it's not Gabriel, it's probably going to be Tomiyasu, because he's actually like two-footed as well. Don One says people sleeping on Marquinhos. I think the issue with Marquinhos, and it's not really an issue, it's just more of a situation, is that he's too good for under 23s, but is he good enough to really improve the first team at Arsenal? So there's a difference between being like, there is a gap between the under 23s and the first team, and whether or not you have enough to jump from here, where you're kind of somewhere in here, to up here. And Saka's backup, has to be somebody that can score goals and really push bukayo, and we don't see any drop off. So I can see a scenario that if he's too good for the under 23s, but he's not quite good enough to be that backup for Saka, where the middle zone here is alone, if that makes sense. But I do think Marquinhos is much better than what I had anticipated him to be, and so we'll see. He may get, now that Reece Nelson is injured, Marquinhos might get an opportunity to stay in the squad, but I still think we need to bring in something a little bit more substantial, because I don't know if Marquinhos has goals in him, so there you go. Goals at the top level, if that makes sense. Let's see. Saksham says Austin Trusty would be his backup after this year. Solomon says, who plays left-sided center back if Gabriel gets hurt? I think the Saliba has played there, and Tomiyasu can play there as well. But, I don't know. I think I would feel more comfortable with Saliba dropping over to the left-hand side and White playing on the right, and Tomiyasu playing right and Tierney playing left. That's what I would feel most comfortable with. So yeah, we only have one left-sided center back. And Onyx Lens, you're asking why, and that's because we just sold or got rid of Pablo Marie. I still feel like there's an opportunity for that position to be addressed before the end of the window. It's the absolute last priority, because obviously we need to bring in an attacker, but Arteta could decide I'd rather make sure that I have backup for Gabriel because I'm satisfied with what I have in midfield. I can see a scenario where we bring in a winger and then spend the rest of the money on a left-sided center back. Don't shoot me, but I can see that because Arteta loves a center back, and if Gabriel is not fit, we do kind of lose something there because you have to shift people around and play the. Because what the best thing about both of our left footers on the left side is you have that balance, and then they can open up their body in a certain way so that you have different options of passing that a right footer wouldn't have. And so, yeah, I do see that being a position that Arteta and Edu may address. But yeah, we just got rid of Pablo Marie, so there you go. Tierney could play left sided center back. Yes, he can. Solomon says it as well. He can. Alex says center backs are generally cheaper. It depends, because cheap is expensive, right? We got Pablo Marie and we were like, yeah, we got somebody, and he was not very good and not up to Arsenal level. And he was, pretty cheap. So if they do get somebody, I'd like it to be somebody of quality. Somebody that can really push Gabriel, quite similarly to what we have with Ben White and Saliba. I don't feel like it would be that bad to have the same situation on the left, but maybe somebody a little bit younger, maybe somebody that, doesn't necessarily feel like he always should start, but knows that they can. So I don't know who that player is, but, I know there's something out there for us that we can probably look at. Pardon me. There's 240 of you guys in here. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Sakshem says White ain't gonna push Saliba. Well, I mean, that's your opinion, but White is a good player to me. So there's still a section of the fan base that just don't rate Ben White at all. And it's really sad to see. Bro Pro says Tierney plays center back for Scotland. Yeah, he could do that. He could do that job. Yo-Yo says Xhaka is likelier to play center back than Tierney this season. I hate that idea with everything in my heart. So yeah, I think that this is probably what we're gonna see. And this team should beat Leicester. Let me see what they went out there because they've gotten more injuries since they played on the first week, I think. Leicester City. Let's look. They played Brentford and they were up 2-0 and it looked like Leicester were back, and then they ended up drawing the game 2-2, which I think just speaks to they're just not as strong as they used to be. They played, I'm sure it wasn't this, a 3-5-1-1, basically a 3-5-2 with Maddison playing off of Vardy. Maddison is a very, very good player. So yeah, basically 3 in the midfield, wing backs that are going to push up. They had Amarty, who's a weak point. Amarty is a weak point. Johnny Evans and Wesley Fofana. They had Castagna and James Justin as their wing backs. Youri Tielemans and Kieran, or whatever his name is, Drewsbury Hall, as their midfielders flanking Ndidi, who's finally back from injury from a long time. Maddison and Vardy. And on the bench, let me see. I mean, they have Iheanacho, but I don't rate him. Patson Daka, good young player, not really worried about him per se. So, and Dennis Pratt is back there. I thought maybe he went on a loan and had to come back. So off of the bench, there's not really a lot there that you need to be afraid of. It's basically what they have out there. And the thing about Leicester is that they have some really quality players in this team. Vardy, Maddison, Tielemans, Ndidi. These are all very good players. Fofana is very good as well. So I don't think that this is a straightforward 100% we're just going to win and walk away with it. They're going to be able to hurt us because they do have players that score goals. And so they're going to obviously have some advantages in width and in the wide areas. It's gonna be interesting to see what we try to do, offensively against them. But the difference, really like Gabriel Jesus, players like that, like they should be making the difference in this game. Like we should feel really confident going into this game with having it improved our team. So yeah, like looking at their team, I'm thinking good players, but we should be able to win. Crispy Rice says a lot of Leicester's shots come from outside the box. I mean, they have some players that could really hurt you on free kicks as well. Like Maddison, we know is quality on the ball from free kicks. So yeah, Yo-Yo says Maddison should be at the arse, wasted at Leicester and stupidly ignored by Southgate. Maddison, you guys, I said like I really thought we should have went for Maddison over Odegaard, and of course, like I love Odegaard, and ultimately, like I'm okay with that choice, but I saw Arsenal fans trying to say that Maddison was crap because he was injured last season, but he ended up with more goals and more assists than Odegaard last season. So what he has that we don't have is the ability to score goals. You know, to really impose himself on the opposition and to do things that are special where regular players that looks impossible, but for him he can make a half chance into a full chance. That's really what Maddison is really good at. His injuries are what people, really harp on, but Maddison's a very good player. So I think he's the one that you really have to watch. Obviously Vardy still has something about him. So yeah, we have to see. But I love Odegaard, but he's going to have to show up in this game. And he did in the last game that we played against them. For, just to be fair to Odegaard, he was like the star. He was the star. He was cooking them. So, yeah. Lion Eye says Maddison doesn't press. Crispy Rice says we need to aggressively press high and break through early. An early goal would really help. Don One says Odegaard has a bigger ceiling, in my opinion. And Maddison doesn't backtrack. So, yeah, stats aren't everything, Jacobs, but what I'm really saying is that, like, I'm not saying Maddison is better than Odegaard, but what I'm saying is that I thought Arsenal fans were being disingenuous by trying to say that Maddison was not a very good player or not worth what Leicester wanted for him, which was like 60 million or something like that. For me, I would pay like 50 million for Maddison. I just think his quality is just up there, so it's not about them. It's like I just couldn't believe that Arsenal fans were saying that he was crap. Very similarly to the way Arsenal fans try to convince themselves that Rafinha didn't walk straight into this team and start. Just saying. Terrence Tibbs says, should Arsenal sign Hoffman, attacking midfielder? I am a guy. I have to be honest. I don't know him. I don't know him. I'm not familiar with his game, but maybe I'll have to look that player up and see. But in terms of midfielders, like what I personally think is happening right now, just using my Pink Panther investigation skills, is that we're interested in Tielemans, but we also, I think we're still interested in Paqueta. I know Adu said no, but we're probably just in a queue trying to see what's going to happen with him. Lyon have put the price down. We know Manchester City and Spurs are both looking at him. So if he's just hanging around at the end of the window and he still wants a move, maybe we'll make a move for him and not make a move for Youri Tielemans. So we have to see, what happens with that. But I'm kind of more like pick one of Tielemans or Lucas Paqueta if you can. Those are the two players that I'd like to, I would want us to choose between because I think they both improve us. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, was it? Was it a bait name? Was it bait? Was it bait? Was it? Okay. If it was, then fair enough. Fair enough. There's 233 of you guys in here, so like the video and subscribe to the channel. So I got baited. Oh no, you got me. Well, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So there you go. Diallo says it's not about cost or stats. Arteta preferred Odegaard for his style of play and no more debates. I mean, it's not really a debate. I'm just saying I just didn't really think that Arsenal fans are being genuine by saying that Maddison was crap. They're trying to convince themselves of it because he got injured early in the season. So Jai says, Gabriel Jesus, I said it first, Jess, he will score the winner. He needs to be scoring the winners. You know what I'm saying? That's why we brought him in, is because he needs to be the difference maker. So for me, that's what I want to see. I don't know if you guys see these lines going across. I think that's the internet, but we're going to go ahead and end it here. just make it really quick, but I want to hear your guys' predictions before we get out of here. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel and give me your guys' predictions for tomorrow's game. What do you guys think is going to happen? Who's going to score? Are we going to get a clean sheet? What is the deal? And I'll let you guys know what I think. Yo-Yo says this game is all about midfield for me. Saksham says, Jess, we need better players than Tielemans. Don One says, I see those lines, Jess. Yeah, I think that's the internet. So I just need to find somewhere else to like sit or like be a little bit closer to the modem. So yeah. Crispy Rice says Arsenal 3, Leicester 0. Don One says 3-1 to the Arsenal, I think. Let's see, it's not letting me because the internet's going in and out. So let me go quick. Diallo says 3-2. Lawazi says 3-1. Hero says 3-0. Matthew says 4-1. Xhaka gets 4. Tielemans gets 1. Nicholas says 3-1 Leicester. Gabby, oh no, this is 3-1 Arsenal. Gabby J, Brace and Martinelli for us, Vardy for them. Blaze says Arsenal win 2-1. Gabriel Jesus will score. Jacob says 3-0 or 2-0 Jesus and Martinelli goals. Tala says just remember this prediction 4-0, 2 from Jesus, Saka and Odegaard. Georgie says, oh, I missed what Georgie said. Oh, 3-2 or 4-2 Arsenal or 2-2. Solomon says 4-0 Jesus hat trick. Yeah, so a lot of goals in this one. I do think that we will keep a clean sheet and we will also score multiple goals on them. So my prediction is 2-0 to the Arsenal. I think Gabriel Jesus will get 2 goals. This is going to be the game where he breaks through. And yeah, I think that's what's going to happen in this game. I think we'll keep a clean sheet against them. They haven't scored against us in a while now, So yeah, because we beat them 2-0 twice last season. So the last time that they scored against us was when we went to their place, and I think it was 3-1 or something like that. And Tielemans actually scored the goal. I remember it because Willian and Xhaka did something stupid on the touchline, and then they let him just dribble straight into the goal from halfway. And it was just so embarrassing, but we won it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get out. Some people are so weird. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and after the game, of course, I will be on the Football Terrace doing a match reaction with them. I will put out a little review, for you guys, and then on Sunday we'll do like a full download after all the games are over, live. So make sure you guys are strapped in for that. I'll see you guys in the next one.